Hey, what's up? So, I wanted to show you guys where we actually stay when we're in Belarus because I often get questions about volunteering, and this time I wanted to actually give some insights into it so that people have an idea and I can kind of refer them back to these vlogs. So yeah, this is where we actually stay. Like, we do stay in the orphanage. This is our kitchen. Like, it's not particularly big because there are like a lot of us here. Like, I think there's 14 here at the moment. So it is quite a small space, but I mean, you get by fine, you know. There is food to eat here, believe it or not. A lot of us do bring our own food, and you know, there's cooking facilities and everything like that. So if you were ever thinking of volunteering, you will be able to eat, don't worry. I remember the first time I came, I thought like that there'd be no food, you know, there'd be nothing in the shops because we were kind of warned before we came, and you know, there'd be no cooking facilities and we'd just be starving for 2 weeks. But no, there's plenty to eat. You'll be fine. If you're a fussy eater, you bring your own food, of course. But yeah, that's that. I just wanted to quickly show you guys the kitchen. I'll show you guys some more of the orphanage later, maybe show you my room where we stay, and yeah, give you some more insight into that process. But for now, I'm gonna go get a workout in. It's the morning time, so time to get some.
Оля, быстро! Быстро! Молодец! An animal of a man!
Smile!
Молодец! Can you chin up? Go on. Jump a little bit. Молодец!
Я помню ваших кроликов. Я надеюсь, что он будет если Гарри тебя раздражает и называет тебя маленькой,
Спасибо, Лора. Видео про Лора.
Спасибо, Лора. Он тебя снимает. Спасибо, Лора. Приезжай и скажи, мне понравилось ваше письмо. Мы тебя ждем,
Спасибо.
Нет, давай. Come on. Let's go. Good man. Yes. You're a messer. Come on, finish your rep. Let's go. Let's finish it. Finish your rep. Come on. That's the stuff. Good man. Молодец, Коля, молодец. Нет, да, молодец. No, you can't fall back. Come on.
Пошли.
Good man. No.
Come on, Kolya.
Ashley, come on. No.
Two hands.
Oh. Быстро. Молодец. Нет.
Crash.
Come on. Oh, so cute. Давай.
Super.
She's so impressed. Mine aren't doing too bad.
А что, если не получается, лучше не делай. Вот, видишь, как у меня получилось, я загорела. Ой!
О, нет.
Not nice. Сережа! Чище сюда иди. Making food for the pigs. You see, only 4 of them left on the farm. Because the fifth, Andrei didn't behave himself, she sent him back. But now he will come. And 4 of them so much.
Сережа, привет!
Иди, Сережа, меряй. Резиновые боты, мы сфотографируем тебя и пойдем. Ой, раз, два, три. Вон идет эта Слава. У меня коляску. Коляску треба купить.
Работа, да? Молодец.
На, ты, тебе нога малая.
Давай мне эта нога пойдет.
Ой, выражаешь.
Это нога малая у тебя. Гляди.
Обожди. Хорошо, давай меряй.
Паша, тебе 40.
Подожди.
40.
Красиво. Красиво кроссовки.
That's all. We gave everything.
Кроссовки футбол, да?
Нет. Это работа с
There you go. Right, Roslana.
Hey team, I hope all is well. So yeah, I did the little rewind there. I have a bit of chocolate on my face because I had some dark chocolate in my oats. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, I'm back in Ireland as I said, and straight back into like a pretty damn busy time coming up now. So I'm gonna give you these couple of minutes as kind of like the life update to set the stage going forward, and then we'll go forward with this video. So right now it is Monday the 26th of August. Today the plan of action is check-in day. So on Mondays I do all of my client check-ins. Okay, it's from over the weekend. I do some at the weekend, but generally on a Monday I sit down and do all my client check-ins. So all of my clients will have sent me their check-in emails, and then I'll review all of their documentation, their tracking documentation, etc., and then send them a response video and provide them with any updates to their programming that they require for the week or weeks ahead. So yeah, so that's the bulk of today's plan. I've also got a podcast at 3 p.m. I'm going to be recording with Jeff Futch. By the time this video has gone on YouTube, you probably have seen, or that podcast will have been released at least, whether or not you've listened or watched. So yeah, do check that out. That'll be an interesting episode. So I'm looking forward to recording with him at 3 p.m. He's in Texas, I believe, so he's on Central Standard Time. So there's a bit of a time difference there. So we were trying to organize that. But anyway, that's that. Tomorrow then I've got a podcast with Lyndon Purcell from JPS. He's in Australia. So again, another time difference on the other side of the spectrum. So I'll be recording with him tomorrow. And that'll be really interesting too. That'll probably be out in the next couple of weeks. And then Paddy's actually also home tomorrow. So we'll be kind of regrouping, probably doing a call to organize like our weeks and months ahead to see what we're going to be working towards. So yeah, it's a busy week in that sense. From a triage perspective, got a lot going on this week. And then also in terms of like personal life / college, I've got my graduation on Thursday. So graduating from physiotherapy on Thursday. And then on Friday, I'm actually starting medicine pretty much. So on Friday, I've got my orientation in UCC, which is basically where you go in, they show you around the college, you've got to pay for our immunizations, you get the welcome from the professors and all that sort of stuff. So that's Friday. And then on Monday, we start officially day one of college. So that's going to be really exciting. I haven't been this excited for a while. I'm super excited to start college. So So yeah, I really can't wait now at this point. I got my school books. You'll see they're all kind of stacked on the desk here. I've got these two bad boys, Harrison's Principles of Internal Medicine. That's volume 1. There's basically 2 volumes. In total, it's a 4,440 page book when you add the 2 of them together. So that's fairly ridiculous, to be honest. But I mean, you don't kind of get into it expecting to, be reading picture books, do you? But yeah, that's the crack. So like the reason I got those books in particular is because they're particularly relevant for the subject areas that I think I'm most interested in. And obviously I'm going in as a first year, a total noob. I don't know much about medicine, of course. But yeah, I essentially got those textbooks because they complement the other textbooks that I have. Like I've got medical biochemistry and physiology textbooks already that I had, kind of more out of interest and to fulfill my own learning regardless of whether or not I was going into medicine. But they'll be complementary for the subjects and areas of medicine that I am interested in and probably see myself training in. So yeah, that's the crack. They're the school books. So I'm ready for school now, and I'm pretty excited. So this week for me is really about kind of trying to organize myself a bit better and get set essentially for that back to school period. So one of the things that I'm doing this week is trying to train earlier in the day. So I'm going to be trying to train around kind of 6 a.m. I haven't been doing that for a while. That's the current plan of action, to start training around 6 a.m. so that I can get my sessions done before college. And then essentially what I will do is on the mornings that I'm not doing my resistance training, I'll do some conditioning work, which will only be twice per week because I'm going to be cycling to and from college anyway. So it's a lot of activity. And then also, on those days that I'm not doing my resistance training sessions, they're the days that I'll slot in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm going to do Jiu-Jitsu in the evenings, and I won't then train in the morning. So essentially, like, I have to be kind of realistic about the amount of training that I'm going to be able to get done. So basically, I'm choosing either a morning or evening session, probably not both in most cases, so that I have at least one end of the day to finish off some work, whether it be triage work or college work. While also obviously delegating that middle part of the day from 9 to 6 pretty much to college and or triage work, wherever that kind of fits in. So yeah, this week is really about kind of gathering myself to prepare for that, because like pretty much like throughout the semester, throughout the year, throughout the next 4 years, it's going to be a case of, pretty much just being like going pretty, intensely from 5 to 6 in the morning, depending on what time I leave for the gym or whatever, or leave for college, 5 to 6 a.m. to whatever, 6 to 8 p.m. depending on the day. And then obviously I can get home and finish off any work I need to do. But that's essentially what I have to kind of get prepared for, I guess, is that, I'm going to have that chunk of my day taken. So now is the time to start developing that routine and those habits, etc., etc. So on that note, what I wanted to do right now was kind of take the time to take you guys through some of the tools that I use to try and be a little bit more organized and get a bit more stuff done. So there are a number of things that I use, some of which I've only started using recently. So I'll start off with basic calendar. Okay, so this is an important one, especially if you're someone who has a number of different events going on in a number of different areas of your life. So for example, for me, it'll be like my college timetable, my training sessions, both, resistance training and jiu-jitsu, trying to schedule those in, podcasts and or meetings with Paddy or other people that we're recording with. So for example, we've got Jeff Futch today, we've got Lyndon Purcell tomorrow. I've got a mentorship booked in with one personal trainer who's coming down to learn from me in 2 weeks' time. Then in 3 weeks' time, I've got a podcast with someone else. I'm going on their podcast. So, there's these little things that kind of slot in around the place. So having those marked in advance to know like where I'm going to be, when and where I'm going to be available or not available is important. We've got a client competing in the NBFI, the natural bodybuilding competition, on Sunday here in Cork. So I'm going to be at that on Sunday. And just all those other things, the graduation, the orientation, etc. So it's important for me to have that somewhere, so that I'm not always thinking, oh yeah, I'm free that day, but then, oh shit, actually, so it's important to have that calendar. So I use Google Calendar for that, and that syncs up with both my phone and my laptop. So that's like my basic step 1. Step 2 then is an app called Evernote. Okay, so Evernote is really handy, especially for students, or anyone that is curating content from around the internet. Like for example, if you're trying to bring a lot of research papers together, take notes on them, take some screenshots, etc., Evernote can be great for that. But what Evernote is also great for is very simple kind of to-do lists, making notes, journaling, just basically anything. It's a really handy app that I use, and basically what I do in that app is I'll generally have like a daily schedule. I'll basically just take that from my calendar. Then I will have a to-do list for the day, so a list of all the tasks, you know, some really simple, some longer tasks, and then a notes and journal section where I'll take down any notes from the day. Like for example, in today's journal, I've got some notes for the podcast with Jeff Futch that I want to discuss with Jeff. Other days it might be a quote from a book I was reading, it might be an idea that I had, and then I'll have other notebooks that are there for things like travel, things like social media posts. What else do I have? College. So for example, if I'm taking lecture notes in college, then that'll be another place where I can slot in some notes there. So that's a really handy app for that sort of stuff. Then finally on the kind of more micro level, I quite like habit apps. So I've got a habit app at the moment called Coach.me. I've used others in the past, but this is just a really nice one that I quite enjoy, where you have your habits, you've got them listed, the most important ones for you each day, and then you kind of swipe them as you tick them off for each day. So for me at the moment, like my habits will be written in like a 12-hour fast. So that's a daily thing. So I want to have at least a 12-hour window each day where I'm not eating out of a 24-hour period. So that's one of the habits. Another habit will be resistance training. I'll have that written in 4 days per week. So my weekly goal is to tick that habit 4 times. Exercise is a habit that I want to tick daily, and I classify exercise as anything where I'm deliberately going to try and exercise for more than 30 minutes. So whether that's my conditioning session, my BJJ session, my resistance training session, they all qualify. If there's a day where I'm not doing anything, I might go out for a quick little run, or me and Laura might go for a brisk walk, up a hill or something, and I'll classify that as my exercise. So, the habits are very specific to what you actually want to achieve. I've got another one that's like write 500 words. Okay, I've got that as a daily thing. If I don't get it done one day, I'll write 1,000 words the next day. So you can see how you can kind of compensate. But ideally you want to have it as a kind of a regularly scheduled thing. Another one is like read one research paper. So read just one per day, not a big goal, but that adds up over time. Or read 10 pages per day. Again, not a big goal, but really does accumulate over time. So yeah, that's the habit app. And I think with those 3 levels, where you've got your calendar, that's kind of like your more macro, longer term stuff. You've got your Evernote for kind of, well, I guess you could call that the micro as well. Like your habits and your Evernote, the habit app and the Evernote is essentially you're on the ground, doing that stuff every day. So we call it the micro. The macro level is the calendar app, and then the micro level is a habit app and some sort of note-taking / journaling / to-do list app. With all of those things together, it makes it much easier to get things done on a day-to-day basis. And like I'm not the busiest guy in the world, as in I'm not Elon Musk, but at the same time there are a number of different like components to how I try and live my life. So for example, like college is one, that's obviously going to be taking up a very large portion of my time. Triage is the other, that's going to take up a very large portion of my time. But then there's other peripheral interests, like obviously my exercise training is really important to me. And then that's split into 2 subdomains of resistance training and BJJ and conditioning training you can put in there as well. And then you've also got things like reading out of interest. I like to read books. I get a lot from that aren't necessarily related to college or always directly related to triage. So for example, one of the books I'm reading at the moment is Letters from a Stoic by Seneca. So I read a little bit of that every morning. I read one letter. I'm also reading Cancer War by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. So these are books that you wouldn't necessarily relate directly to what I do for a job or what I study in college, but they do filter into things that are meaningful to me. So when you've got lots of different things that are important to you, obviously like my personal relationship with Laura as well is super important. So if I'm not trying to manage my time well by knowing when I have to do different things, it's going to be very difficult for me to get all of those things done.
And what can happen then is you're either left doing a terrible job with lots of things because you're never really getting anything done, or you might be able to do a good job with one thing, but everything else is kind of just on the back burner and you're going nowhere. So if you are that type of person where you've got a few things going on, you do need to get some systems in place. I saw my friend Adam McDonald share a quote recently. I'm not sure where it originated, but it was basically, you will not rise to the level of your goals, you'll fall to the level of your systems. And I think that's a really wise quote that's important to think about, because we all have these goals. Like, it'd be very easy for me to just sit back and say, oh yeah, I want to have this really successful business through Triage, and I want to be a doctor, but I also want to be fit and strong, and I want to do BJJ and be good at that, and I want to have a good relationship. It's like, yeah, they're my goals, but like, there's no point sitting back talking about that. Like that's irrelevant. Like, people who are impressed by goals is like, that's just a stupid thing to be impressed by. You should look at someone's systems, their behaviors, their habits, what they do every day, and then see where that person is going, because that's ultimately all that matters. And a lot of us rest too much on like what we identify as, like, oh, I am someone who wants to be the best trainer in the world. But how are you actually achieving that? What are you doing every day? Because if you're someone that, let's say, I want to know so much exercise science. I want to be so up to date. I want to understand everything that's going on, the latest science, so that I can, be that guy. If you're not like reading research papers every single day, and that's not one of your basic habits, like, you're not going to get there. Like, if you don't have that reading habit set up, like how are you ever going to achieve that goal? So yeah, detach yourself a little bit from just goals and focus on those behaviors. Focus on what you're actually doing every day. And obviously that should be informed by your goals or your overall guiding philosophy or meaning or purpose that I discussed in 2 videos ago. But really do focus on those systems, like what is carrying you through each day, because ultimately, like, you are going to be the result of the kind of average actions that you take every single day. And if they're just, if you're reviewing your week and you're like, I actually only like read for 20 minutes this week, and I only got 2 exercise sessions in, and I actually didn't study for college at all. Like, how do you expect to get anywhere? You come to the end of your degree and you're like, oh, I got a 2-2, I got mainly C's and B's. I thought I'd be an A student, but obviously the course just wasn't for me. It's like, no. Your actions did not follow what you said you wanted to achieve. So yeah, that's why all this stuff is important. But anyway, enough of the pseudo-motivational talk. That's not what this is about. I basically just wanted to share with you guys some of the things that I do to try and, keep my shit together. And none of those apps are inherently superior to other apps or anything like that. They just happen to be what I use, and I find them to be quite useful. And yeah, your systems, they're super important. Like, we've got additional systems within Triage that allow us to coordinate our actions together. Like, myself and Paddy, like, we've got a weekly schedule where we've got written down like what we're doing on Monday, what we're doing on Tuesday, what we're doing on Wednesday, what we're doing on Thursday, blah 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 blah. So we know when we're recording our podcast, we know what posts are going out on Monday, what posts are going out on Tuesday, what posts are going out on Wednesday, when we're starting to work on our next project. Our next project is the 4-day training templates. We know when we're starting with those, we know when we're finishing with those. Like, Paddy's even just written in recently some of the things that we're going to be doing around Christmas time, that, this is when we're going to start working on that. We want to have this offer, blah, blah, blah. So this stuff is important. Your systems are important. It's not just about your goals, because goals, it's like, oh yeah, that's cute, but how are you going to get there? So yeah, hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps, someone that is wondering, oh, how can I be more productive? How can I get more stuff done? It's really not about like massive steps. It's not about the secrets. It's about doing the really, really boring stuff every single day. Like, if you want to read a book, read 10 pages a day. Get that basic habit down. If you read 10 pages a day, that's not a lot, okay? But you're essentially committing then to reading 3,650 pages per year. That's a hell of a lot of pages. That's a lot of books. That could be 10 365-page books that you've completed in a year. And if you're the type of person that has never finished a book, then like, that's a really good place to start. Like, if you've currently read 0 books because you never finished them, but then you actually have read 10 books by the end of this year, it's like, it's pretty decent return on investment. So yeah, systems, habits, behaviors over goals, but should still be guided by goals, philosophy, etc. So yeah, I'm gonna go and not finish this video off just yet because I got more stuff to add in, but hopefully that was helpful.